Questions. We have tons of them. What if some of those questions can be answered with a simple email? Now is that time, and welcome to Chat with Charlie. Host Stephanie Lynn is a certified spiritual life coach and psychic medium. She will work together with Spirit to answer both your submitted and live questions. Not only will Stephanie be providing you with insight, but also interviews with amazing guests. Now, your host of Chat with Charlie, Stephanie Lynn.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. You are watching Chat with Charlie on WLTK-DB Let's Talk Radio, and I am your host, Stephanie Lynn. So I'm so glad that you guys are tuning in today, because we kind of went back to what the whole basis of this show was supposed to be. You know, I love having the guests on because they bring you a lot of resources that I feel like some of the viewers might not get. Good morning, Jackie. Thank you for tuning in. But today I want to get back to talking to you. I want to get back to answering your questions, being that resource, helping you kind of navigate where you are. Not so much, psychic mediumship questions, but what is the meaning of life? What is astral projection? That's why I'm here. And so today, not having a guest, I have to warn you. I have some questions that have been sent in. I have a couple things I want to talk about, but I'm here for you. I am here to answer your questions. And so if you don't send in the questions for the next hour, I'm serious. This is what you're going to get. And I know you guys don't want to look at me just staring off in space like this. But talk to me, people. Send me your questions. Let me know what's going on. Let me know what you need help with, what you're looking for. That's why I'm here. You don't want to stare at me for the next 59 minutes, right? I don't want to stare at me for 59 minutes. Good morning, Anita. Thank you for tuning in. So before we get into the questions that were sent in, a couple things. I want to tell you about some upcoming guests. I want to tell you what's going on with me. And I know some of you are aware that I do sell some essential oils. I do Swiss Used, which is newer to the States. But today I have my 3 mints blend going behind me. Some of you usually ask what I got going on, and this is what I got going on. So today I chose 3 mints because I kind of congested, kind of feeling blah, wanted to lift my energy, but also be able to breathe. That helps with that. So that's what I got going on behind me. The 18th of March, for anybody that's local or anybody that feels like traveling, come and see me. Good morning, Robin. Thank you for tuning in. Good morning, Salone. I will be in Ashland, Wisconsin at the Soul and Synergy event, and a lot of other people will. There will be some other WLTK-DB hosts there as well, so come out and meet that family, and come out and meet that metaphysical family that we really kind of bond, with those Soul and Synergy events. A lot of great vendors, a lot of great speakers. I know I'm going to be speaking in the morning. I think, I'm not completely sure, but I think I'm speaking about using your abilities, kind of honing those in. So come out, see us all, even just come network. That's how I started, getting in there, getting to know people with like-minded thoughts. In August, I will be in Sault Ste. Marie, so watch for info on that. And again, there's going to be a lot of great vendors there, and a lot of your WLTK-DB hosts. We're all over the place. So come out, see us in person. All right, now that is out of the way, coming up on the show next week, we're kind of going to start after today. I want to really hone in on some of our other hosts, and what they have to offer. So we're going to sit down with Brandon Wainwright. You guys are going to love him. We're going to talk about all kinds of things within his journey and within his life. And then the following week, we are going to have Michael Christopher, who is an evidential medium. He will be coming on to talk to you guys and maybe do some readings more towards the end of the show. So write that down. You can always hop on, my Chat with Charlie Facebook page or Stephanie Lynn Spirit Sensitive to kind of check out what's going on, where everybody is, and those things. All right. So now, questions. I want to answer your questions. So one of the questions that we just got in, I'll start with those, and then I'll go to my backup questions after that, is They would love to learn more about how to clear an area's energy and how to ground yourself, right? That's a hard thing for some of us. And this kind of ties into what we'll touch on a little bit later when we get to this topic is energy, being empathic, picking up on that energy. There are lots of ways that you can clear an area of energy. For me, it was finding what resonated with me. What system that I looked at that I could use that I had a belief in, right? Because you also, whatever systems you put in place, whatever practices you put in place, you have to have a belief in those practices and you have to have a belief in those systems. If you think, and you're like, you know what, I'm going to burn sage. This is going to help. This is going to help clear out the energy of an area. And you light that sucker up and you're walking around waving it around, but you don't have that belief behind it. You don't believe that this is going to help you. It's not going to help you. So the first thing I say is when looking at any type of method for cleaning your aura, adjusting energies in an area, is make sure it's a belief that resonates with you. Okay, so whether it is, a lot of you know who Ellie Weisensell is, and she's actually going to be on the show again at the end of the month. She uses a different clearing technique, that she taught to me, and I adapted that. I have a belief in that system, though. I have a belief that when I sit down and I say my opening prayers, when I call in Source, when I call in the archangels, that they are there to support me, that my spiritual team is there to support me and to support the client or wherever our intent is. So first, I have that belief system. When you look at grounding, there's so many things out there for grounding. And grounding is one of those things that you can find even more incorporated in the modern world and modern medicine now. There's lots of different ways. One way that I've actually turned to, and I'm using it professionally with somebody that I work with, is tapping. Because this individual that I work with, they get so stuck, right? They get so stuck in this emotion that they're having that the normal something you can see, something you can feel, something you can touch, something you can smell to help them ground doesn't work because they're so caught up in it. And somebody was asking me, they're like, well, what is this? We call them tantrums. We call them emotional outbursts. But think about it from this perspective. If you have somebody who isn't grounded and they are experiencing this extreme emotion, right? So you got this extreme emotion coming in. It's not very undifferent, good morning, Ward, than what a panic attack is, right? It's a trigger that is lighting up this emotion, and it's like an emotional panic attack. Something that a lot of people have with anxiety. You have panic attacks. So finding something that will work for you. Myself personally, on days that I really need to ground when I'm dealing with some of my PTSD, is a rubber band on my wrist. And I'll snap it because that redirects my thought process. So finding what works for you. When I don't have hills of 8 feet of snow out in my yard, there's times I'll just go and I'll lay in the grass. Or I spend most of spring up until it freezes barefoot when I'm outside. I don't like anything on my feet. I like to feel the earth. I like to feel the energy. That keeps me grounded. So what resonates with you? Jackie says she likes to lay under the moon. So there's all kinds of things, but it has to be something, again, that you have a belief system in, and two, that resonates with you. If I say, hey, you know what? This grounding technique, tapping that I'm using, which is repetitive, there's a certain way that you go through the points, but it's, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And that might not resonate with you. You might, you feel ridiculous, or you're like, how is this tapping on my face going to help me recenter? Try something different. Music. For me, when I'm really feeling down, it'll be a hot bath or a hot shower just to get myself kind of regenerated, kind of cleansed, and that's what makes me feel better. Good morning, Ellie. So kind of putting it all back in a bundle, if you are looking at something to help clear an area of energies, even yourself, make sure you have a belief in that system. And there can be all kinds of ways, from calling in your guides and asking them to do it, to using sage, to setting up crystal circles. Stephanie says singing helps me. And I resonate with that, because there will be days, when I'm home and I'm feeling kind of down, I'll turn on my music, I'll sing, I'll dance around. And to me, that's really kind of how I meditate, because that really clears my mind. And even though I might look ridiculous if anybody drove past and looked in my windows, my mind is clear. I'm raising that energy vibration. So just find what resonates with you. One of the other questions that we got today was, when you first start down the path of connecting to spirit and you do not have the ability to see spirit, how can you discern between a spirit from the white light and one from a low level vibration? I thought this was a great question. And I'm glad I got this one earlier in the morning, because I kind of had to sit with that and think about it for a little bit. It's not one that I felt I would just be able to jump in. It did require some thought and evaluation on my part. So the first thing, I kind of want to break this down. And it's interesting that this question came in today, because I was also recently contacted about helping a juvenile with their abilities, with understanding and kind of advocating for them. And so looking at it as a child with abilities, moving into this, how do you discern? And so what I found interesting, because for me, and so I think it depends. It depends on which of your abilities are coming in. It depends on how you are starting to experience things as you start waking up to your abilities, that you may start with seeing spirits. That's how I started. I didn't know that everybody didn't see this. I didn't know that having the shadow person in my room was not something that everybody experienced. And so when I looked back at that, when I looked back at my own experiences, it was the way in which what I was seeing resonated with me. Good morning, Danny. Thank you for tuning in. And in the beginning, I would see things, and some things would show up where I really wouldn't feel afraid. I would feel confused, but I wasn't afraid to look at them. I wasn't afraid to wander, right? I didn't understand at that point about pushing my energy out or bringing my energy in. Good morning, love. I love that. Good morning, Diana. I'm glad you tuned in. So I didn't have that understanding, right, of how we close down our energy or how we push our energy out. But I already intuitively could feel, oh, this showing up has made me curious. I wonder why they're here. I wonder what they're doing. To having experiences with other things where the minute I felt them enter the space, I was scared. The minute I would turn and see them there, even now, I'm getting goosebumps. I know, like with Ellie, she'll say like she gets electricity up her legs, like it feels like she's kind of getting zapped. So learning to be in tune with your body, and that's hard, because when you're first coming into your abilities, you don't know to connect all these things, right? You don't know to look at it that way. And so that's really hard. And another thing I thought about is, when looking at white light versus the low level vibrations, not everybody will deal with that. Not everybody will. Good morning, Mary. Thank you for tuning in. And I learned this from my own experience, because I have always dealt with, family, white light, people coming in and wanting to give messages that have transitioned over. And then I have also dealt with the low level, the darker energies, the things that creep along your wall. But not everybody does, which blew my mind when I discovered this. And it actually took me quite a while in developing my abilities before I found people similar to me like that in my tribe. Because a lot of times, and I'll hear people say when, they're a psychic or they're a medium, well, I vibrate so high that those lower levels can't get in. That might be. Or it just might be just like in any other profession, in any other thing in the world, we have people that are meant to deal with certain things or do things and others who aren't. And I just look at myself. I look at where I went in my journey and in my careers. And I feel like this was just something that was part of my calling, to be able to recognize those darker feelings, to be able to help get rid of some of those things that other people don't have to deal with. Because where there is light, there is darkness. It has to be in balance. And so if spirit does not put people in that can keep that in balance, it's going to shift, because all these people who say, I'm vibing way up here, I don't even feel those energies, aren't going to pick up on this. So how then do we keep it in balance? And I feel like maybe that's why you're seeing more people who are able to recognize those lower level energies, because we're trying to fix the balance. We have to get everything back into balance again. And then after I thought about that, I thought about how when you're sitting with a communicator, when I have somebody coming in who has transitioned over and they're coming in to communicate a message with me for a client or for whatever is going on, sometimes they might be interpreted as a lower level energy or as scary because of the way they come in. And like I explained to my own children, to children with abilities that are working through these things, is you have to think about this. People, right? Some people are kind. Some people are gregarious. Some people are assholes, right? Some people are abusers. So you have all these personalities within our society and what creates our world. Those personalities are part of us. So yes, I truly believe that when we transition, that we go through like a counseling session on the other side, trying to overcome some of the lessons that we learned here. And so we may not actually resonate anymore, right? If we were an abuser, we may now understand why those things happen, but we don't resonate anymore as someone who's an abuser or an individual like that. But when you come through, now if I had somebody in my family come through who was more of a manipulator and basically a dick, and they came through and they're like, oh, I love you, this is so and so, that's not going to resonate with me here, because that's not how I knew that person. And so sometimes you'll see these people with these big personalities coming through that way, and that might feel very low level. But that's where, when you start learning to feel into something, where you start to understand, okay, this is how they're presenting because this is who they were in life. Now that you can make that connection of, yep, that's who they were in life. Good morning, Kathy. Thank you for tuning in. Then they can start talking to you about their lessons, about who they are now and what they learned, versus just holding on to pushing that through. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that resonates with some of you. But that's really when I sat down and I thought about it, how spirit kind of tied it all in together for me. Ward, thank you so much for sending in a question. Ward says, sometimes I am paralyzed in sleep, feeling my body lifting up and hearing talking, feeling things on my body. And in the darkness, I see there are images of colors. What does this mean? I have it often. So I think this is great. I mean, I know it doesn't feel great, but I think it's a great question. So what I'm feeling as I tune in and I read this is I really feel like you're doing some astro travel. You're doing some astro projection. And you may not feel like, I think a lot of times when people think about astro projection, they think of their soul lifting up out of their body and traveling. But sometimes it's our self, as we start either going into that astro travel or start coming out of that astro travel, that people don't realize. It's almost like a hyper awareness, because I've had it happen to me, a hyper awareness of what is going on with your body. You start to feel that disconnect, or some people will report feeling like they were dropped back in their body, but when they wake up, they're not able to move. And a lot of times people will interpret that as their house being haunted and something attacking them, when it's really what I call a side effect of astro projecting, because you're slamming, you're coming in too hard into your body, or maybe you're lifting off too fast. And as that disconnect happens, your physical body doesn't know how to process, because some things, right? I mean, it sounds crazy when you're like, yeah, you're going to sleep and you're separating from your body. You're going up either with your higher self or for lessons. That's hard to comprehend, right? That goes against all the conventional things that we've learned. But you will hear talking. You might feel things on your body. What I feel like when you're doing that is I feel like as you're lifting up, you're starting to become more conscious of the things that you may not see going around you when you're not in this state. And so I would not be surprised if you start seeing yourself coming into more of a time of growth, when you are coming more into a time of opening up to your abilities and being open with that word. When you're seeing things, in the darkness, images of colors. Again, I feel like this is part of your third eye opening up. I would suggest having a journal next to you, or looking up, if you're seeing a certain color, what colors are you seeing? What order of the colors are you seeing? How do you feel when you see these colors? Is it maybe they're showing you red, green, orange? Maybe your chakras aren't in alignment. So there is a message within the colors, but you're going to have to see what resonates with you with those colors. I do feel like there's some self-healing that is going to be happening for you, and this is part of that process. But just being open to the process, being open to what's going on. Good morning, Courtney. Thank you so much for tuning in. So on that note, we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, I will jump back to answering some more questions about things going on, how we can kind of make sense of everything that is here and now. I'll see you back in just a moment.
The Body Code is a revolutionary method of energetic healing developed by Dr. Bradley Nelson, which allows us to quickly and easily identify specific imbalances that seem to underline chronic ill health, acute and chronic pain, and discomfort, dysfunction, and stress. Ellie energetically connects with the subconscious of the client. Psychic medium Ellie Weisensell is a medical intuitive and energy healer, and a certified body code practitioner. She identifies and clears energetic imbalances within the body and energy field. Contact Ellie at the website below, and Ellie can work remotely from a distance, by phone, online, video chat. There's no need to travel to an office. Remember, the Body Code is safe for humans and animals. Contact Ellie today.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Chat with Charlie. It's about 23 past the hour. You are listening on or watching on WLTK-DB Let's Talk Radio. Remember, if you've missed any episodes of my podcast or anybody else's, you can find a lot of us anywhere you download your music, whether that's Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts. Check it out, catch up, or you can hop right on the station website at WLTK-DB.com. Good morning, Jonathan. Thank you so much for joining us from Ireland. I am really thankful that you have joined us today. Oh, Kathy is new here. Thank you, Kathy, for tuning in. I hope that some of this will resonate with you and that you'll get inspiration. We're family now. I love that. So Kathy, I did see your question come up, and Kathy says, my husband died recently. Can you tell me anything as my heart is broken? And I really feel like, Kathy, there's going to be a lot of healing. There's going to be a lot of healing that has to go on both within your loss and your grief process, but things that will need to be let go of from those life experiences, if that makes sense. I feel like eventually, I know right now it probably feels very quiet, and right now you feel like you're very hypersensitive, looking for any signs from your husband, wanting to know that he's around. Give that time. I do feel like that is going to come, but just know that some healing really needs to take place, because what I find, especially when we lose somebody and it's in that deep moments of grief, the fresh grief, right? Because I don't feel like grief ever really goes away, but it's so raw right now that when our loved ones cross over and everything is so raw, and we really do want messages, we want to know that they're okay, we want to still feel connected, but we're so stuck in that grief and our brokenness, like you say, that we overlook some of those messages. So know that he is around, but I do expect that in time, as you get a little bit more away from this, as you are able to start piecing life back together, piecing and finding what will be the new normal, that you will start seeing parts of him showing up in your day and still coming in to support you. So, and I'm very, very sorry for your loss. All right. So next question. I do appreciate you guys not making me sitting here staring at you. So I'm glad that we have lots of questions to talk about. I found this very interesting and also thought-provoking. A lot of what's come up has been thought-provoking, also on my end, making me kind of look at things and having things hit or resonate a little bit differently with me. So the question was, does the world really exist? You're welcome, Kathy. I hope that helped. And does any of this, even my act of questioning, really matter? Which led them to bring up, do we have free will? That's a lot, right? That's a lot to consider. And in that question, you know, some people think, well, does God exist? Do all these things exist? And there's no really easy answers for any of this, because a lot of it is our perception. A lot of it is, again, our belief system. Yes, I think this world actually exists. I don't think that we are the only world to exist. I think there's other places with life, with their own existence, with their own cultures. But yes, here, this world, this realm, what some people call it, it exists. It exists here on its plane with linear time. And then people ask, well, if it exists, you know, there's all this talk about us having free will, but so many of us feel like we don't have choices. We feel like we don't have options. So how can we have free will when we don't have any options? We do. And I'll tell you right now, we do, because what we look at as not having options and what we look at in society as being stuck is by us sticking ourselves in made up constraints. It is us sticking ourselves and having a situation where we might not like any of the choices. But just because we don't like the choices doesn't mean we don't have any. Okay? So a lot of this, and this is what I work on with people when I'm working as a life coach, is looking at our options, looking at what we're doing every day, because we all think it's these big grand things that make the difference, and they do, but we have little hundreds and thousands of choices every day that we make that either brings us closer and keeps us on the path with our journey, or moves us off to the side of the path with our journey. And because these are these every day, every moment, right? We're making these choices. We don't see it. So we feel like, oh, damn, this just happened to us. Like, I was really working for financial freedom, and now I got $20 in my bank account. What happened? I was doing so good. Looking at those little choices, right? Because we're doing it constantly. So being more aware of that. So yes, when you look at it that way, when you look at these little choices, even your questioning, it matters. It does matter. Because the little things, think about it when you're putting together a puzzle, right? 1,000-piece puzzle. It's all these little annoying pieces. But as you start plugging in the pieces, when you start figuring out where the pieces go, it makes up this grand, beautiful photo. So make your beautiful photo. Figure out where the pieces go. Question things. You don't look at a puzzle and say, I'm going to jam this puzzle piece in this spot because it's not going to fit. It's going to mess up the whole puzzle. It's going to make it look kittywampus, right? No, you think about it. You question if it fits. You put it in there. So yes, questioning is good. Questioning also helps us on our journey of learning because we're here to learn. We're here to self-educate. We're here to make a difference. We're here to experience love and to experience things. If you're not questioning things, how do you process through those experiences? How do you get those experiences? How do you look at something and say, does this really resonate with me? I'm not sure if it resonates with me. So those are things that I think are really important. Questioning, looking at things, and then free will. So this, and I get this because, and a lot of people say, and especially in religions, it talks about God, source, coming in and giving us free will. And I agree with that. But then you look at something like, destinations, right? Are we predestined for things to happen? And so here's my take on all of this. I do feel like before we come down here, we kind of decide the experiences we're going to go through, things that we're going to have happen. And I know, I get it because I look at this and I go, why in the hell would I have agreed to this? I get that. But we're here because in this life, we have a goal of what we're going to learn, what we want to accomplish. And so we set in these things. And I think about it like, let's say you're sent here and you're like, okay, in this life, I am going to be wealthy. Okay. I am going to have an abundance. But so this is predestined to happen that you are going to have this abundance. But in there, maybe there's a disclaimer like, okay, I'm going to have this abundance. But if I become a person who does not appreciate my abundance, does not appreciate the position I'm put in to help other people, I lose this. So those things are kind of in there as, like people say, well, I have deja vu. How can that happen if we have free will? Because to me, I see that as hitting your markers, right? So it's okay, you're hitting your markers. These are things that kind of showed up. If we got a spreadsheet of highlights of shit that's going to happen to us, you're going to find that on there. And so looking at, yes, you're predestined to come into this wealth, but your actions of what happens to get there, how do you get your wealth? Are you stealing? Are you promoting drug use? Or are you getting it through different means? So how are you obtaining this wealth? Because that's also going to dictate what kind of life. If you're getting the wealth because you're a drug lord, you're probably going to have a difficult life. I'm just saying. And so there's things that go under it. These are just the bullet points. So yes, we have free will, but I do believe that we have some agreements as far as what we're going to reach. So I hope that answers that individual's questions. Okay, so let's follow up with Ward. Ward says, sometimes in the paralysis, I can feel my body in bed, but I also can move my soul like I am flying. So I fly to other rooms and then I can hear the people talking in the room where I fly to. So my body is in the bed, but my soul is in the room where I go. Absolutely. I used to have that happen a lot and I didn't understand it as a child, but I would always go to my grandparents' house. And I remember, being like, why because it would feel like a dream as it would begin. But then I'm like, why do I feel like I'm flying? Why can I see on top of their refrigerator? And in time, and this is where it becomes important, word, because right now you're in the constraints of your home and or in rooms in a familiar area. But as you grow, you will advance to other places. So it's important to have your guides come in, to have those resources with you. So I would really suggest when you lay down to go to sleep at night, to talk to your guides, to reach out to them and ask them to travel with you. Not that I think, you're going to snap loose and go fly somewhere else. I just think it's a good practice to have them go with you, to help you from wandering to places you shouldn't wander, if that makes sense. So when I was looking at the question of, does any of this make sense? Do we have free will? Does God exist? Does the world exist? That brought me to an interesting question that kind of ties in, that talks about what is consciousness. And we hear that, we in this field, it is not uncommon for us to say we are connecting with our higher consciousness. We are trying to obtain consciousness. But what is it, right? Because a lot of us, I don't feel like, are even very conscious when we're in our everyday life. We are disconnected. We go through the motions. So when you look at consciousness from a Webster Dictionary standpoint, it's individual awareness of your unique thoughts. So listen to this, your unique thoughts, memories, feelings, sensations, and envisionments, right? So what you envision of things coming up. So essentially, it's awareness of yourself and the world around you. But it's subjective. Consciousness is subjective. And I feel like within society, this is why we start to see some of this discord, to feel like we're not connected, because so many things, it's just like your perception, where you can be having an experience with somebody. And if you talk to somebody, next time you go out with somebody and you have fun, a couple days later, call them up and ask them about their perspective of the evening. You're going to have different perspectives. You're going to have things that you might have enjoyed that they didn't, or that you looked at differently. That is our consciousness. It is so individualized and subjected because it is that awareness and how we perceive it, how we feel it, how we process it. Now you take that consciousness to a metaphysical level and break that down. So yes, it's awareness, but it's not the immediate awareness of the physical world. It's not noticing that I've got a light on behind me. It's not noticing things that I have on the desk. It's noticing the things underneath, underneath the veil, underneath the emotions. It's almost like reading the world or the scenario's body language. And I can tell you, and I know other people within the network who within their careers, body language is huge, right? We have a host who used to be in law enforcement. The ability to have that consciousness to read somebody's body language is pivotal to your survival. So when you look at that, and you look at that within the metaphysical, once we allow ourselves to start connecting in with our awareness of spirits, within our awareness of our higher self, our aura, I mean, it's limitless, our awareness of astro travel, where does that consciousness take us? And what becomes pivotal for our survival, our advancement within that metaphysical world, right? Being able to feel into emotions, being able to feel into a spirit, just like we were talking about before the break, about something coming from the white light or being a low level vibration. It's that consciousness of all these other things that we may not see with our naked eye, but if we tune into the most basic instincts of ourselves that we can feel. Good morning. Thank you for tuning in, Maria. These are the things that we can feel, and these are the things that we need to use. And that brings me up to talking about energy, right? We kind of touched on it when we were looking at, how we feel if a spirit's from the white light or not, energy and being empathic. And I get a lot of people who are like, well, what's empathic? Well, think about somebody who has empathy, right? You can relate. I can relate to Maria if she is feeling down. I can relate to individuals' circumstances of things that they might be going through, either based on my own life experiences or other experiences. I can relate. That's having empathy. Being empathic is like your body, your spirit having uncontrolled empathy, right? Because we have to learn how to control being empathic. And when you look at this, so this is that consciousness, right? We're talking about having the consciousness of all these things going on around us that we can't see with our physical eyes, but we're conscious to it. We have to be conscious to those energies because there's so many. Think about going to the store. You go to this, how many people do you encounter, right? I know there's certain stores that I go in where when it's full, I get so overwhelmed if I don't bubble up, if I don't self-protect myself and my energy. Because a lot of people who are not conscious about things going on around them, that are not connected in any way, whether it's through their religion or through their practices to spirit, it's almost like vampires. And not the vampire that's going to come bite your neck and suck out all your blood and you're going to live forever, but the energy vampires, the energies that feed off of our energy. And especially when you're working in the metaphysical, we vibrate high, we have a lot of energy. We're constantly pushing that energy in and out to connect either with communicators or people or clients or friends to try to help. But if you don't learn how to maintain your energy, one thing I recently learned was how to call back my unused energy. So when you are looking at something happens and maybe you're sending out prayers for somebody, maybe you're sending out well wishes or putting energy like Reiki into helping somebody feel better, they don't always use all that energy, right? So if I'm sending energy out to Jackie and I'm like, all right, this is what I'm sending energy for, she might not use all of that. She might not absorb all of that. So it's out there. So learning to call that energy back, how you bring that unused energy. Like for me, if Jackie's not using it, it's kind of like she wants to borrow my shoes. Well, when you're done borrowing my shoes, if you're not wearing them on your feet, I want them back. And so if she's not using my energy within her body or her higher self, you want it back. And so calling back that energy, putting up boundaries. Good morning, Shell. Thank you for tuning in. Putting up those boundaries of who you allow to access your energy. We don't have to just go around like a power source for a cell phone and letting people constantly plug into us. We don't have to do that. We can keep that energy for ourselves. So bubbling up, putting up those boundaries and limiting access, not to us, but to our energy. And that will help cut back on those energy attachments, those energy vampires that, just drain you. Or having that consciousness to say, and I've had it happen to me where I'll go and I'll be in a great mood and maybe I'll go through a store or go through somewhere where I have contact with other people. And all of a sudden I'm like homicidal. Like I could just punch somebody in the face for no reason. Nothing happened. I wasn't in an argument with anybody. Nothing bad happened to me, but I could be overcome with these feelings of anger or extreme feelings of sadness. I've gotten now to the point where, because of my consciousness, I can look at this and be like, man, I really don't like myself right now. What is going on? And feel into that emotion, feel into that energy, and recognize this isn't mine. I don't have to carry this. I don't have to have these feelings, and not taking on that energy, not taking on those empathic emotions. It's a process. It's not something that's easy to do, but if you have good, what I call energy hygiene, that really helps, evaluating, looking at if you're sitting down and you're meditating, or you're just connecting with yourself, looking at, where is this coming in from? Where is there maybe a hole in my boundary that some of these emotions are coming through? Is it maybe that you have these boundaries, but there's somebody in your life that you really have a soft spot for, and they just take advantage of your energy? So reevaluating and being conscious at the most highest metaphysical level. So I hope that makes sense to everybody. I hope you found some benefit in my ramblings, and I appreciate the questions. We are going to take our last station break. When we come back, if anybody has any questions, I will wrap up the questions. I will give you some brief inspiration for the week ahead, pull a couple cards maybe, and we'll go from there. So I will see you all in just a moment.
Download the new station calendar and never miss another show. To get it is simple and free. Just visit WLTK-DB.com to download, or tap the subscribe button on our mobile app. Once the file is in your downloads folder, just double-click it, authorize it to your calendar, and boom, you have every show listed. Not only does it list the shows, but also the links to watch them live. We would like to thank Danny Loosemore for developing this for us, and hope you enjoy it as much as we do. Get yours now at WLTK-DB.com, or just click subscribe on our mobile app. See you at the shows. Put the power of this station in the palm of your hand and download our mobile app. Visit the App Store, Google Play, and search for WLTK-DB Talk Radio, and download the app for free. Listen to past shows, download our station calendar right to yours, and even shop the WLTK-DB Talk Radio mobile app, now available on the App Store and Google Play. Download yours now.
Welcome back to Chat with Charlie. It is 47 past the hour. You are listening on WLTK-DB Let's Talk Radio, or maybe you just happened across us on iPod Radio, Podbean. Wherever you go, you can find us. So get out there, hit up some of the other shows, find us, because we are all here to give you information. Shell, thank you. I'm glad that it was relevant timing for you, and that the messages reached some ears that it was meant to reach. All right, we're going to pull a couple cards. I heard 5, but then I also felt like I needed to pull a clarification card, because I do feel like some of these are going to be linked together. So we're going to do 5 cards and a clarification card. So you guys know what that means. Just kind of sit, think on things that you've been needing guidance for. You can pick all 5 cards. You can pick a combination anywhere between 1 and 5. Whatever resonates with you. Again, I am using Denise Lynn's The Sacred Forest Oracle today, just to kind of give you some inspiration. But I'm hearing, do not let these inspirations or any of our shows, you guys come on and we give you information, be the one all says all. Take that time to self-connect with spirit. Take that time to self-connect within your religion, within your spirituality, wherever you are at. to make that one-on-one relationship with spirit, because that is very important. We can't replace that. We can give you information. We can look at things again from our consciousness, from our perspective, or from the way that spirit presents things to us, but we cannot replace that connection. That is up to you. All right, first card is patience. And I feel like if you had card number 1 in any combination within where you're looking for guidance, is you do need to have patience right now. I feel like you are sitting and kind of looking at things, but I'm hearing it's about timing, and we can't force timing. You know, we hear about divine timing. We hear about things happening for a reason. So if card number 1 is involved in your I need clarity conversation today, give space. That's what I'm hearing. Give space and allow things to unfold. Because if you push forward with your agenda, how you see it unfolding or happening, it's not going to be a vision of growth. Okay. You're going to self-stall. This is something that you need to allow spirit to work on. You need to allow spirit to open up some doors and to work on for you. Trust the divine timing. Okay, that doesn't mean be lazy and don't do work behind the scenes. We can always be doing work behind the scenes, but trust the timing of spirit and allow them to unfold these things for you. Card number 2 is joy. And when I see this card, you know, I feel like so many of us, and at least, and maybe it's just me, because I look out my window and literally I have 3 feet of a 6-foot fence left that's not buried in the snow. And there's more snow in the forecast. And I'm just kind of like, ugh, you know, and this time of the year, I think we tend to get that way. There's so much going on in society. If you're watching the news, it's all so overwhelming. Find the joy in the small things, in the little tiny things in life, because those small things are the things that is worth holding on to. Those small things are the things that get us through. Okay. Card number 3, activation. And what's interesting is I pulled this card inverted. And so I feel like if card number 3, again, is in anywhere in your scenario of I need guidance for the week, is that there is so it's interesting. So I feel like whoever this card is for also had number 1, where it talked about patience, because what I'm hearing is not activating doesn't mean pushing through and not having patience. So what that's telling me is that there's something that you are not doing to support the goal you want. And yes, we can manifest things to come in easily for us. We can pray, we can connect with spirit, ask for guidance on our journey, ask for things to be easy and come to us. But there are things we still need to do to support that ideology. Okay. I can't sit here and say, I really want to be successful in reaching out and being a resource to people, being a resource and advocating for gifted kids, being a resource and advocating for people to understand their abilities, if I don't get out there. And it took me a long time to do that, but I wasn't activating the parts of myself to be here. Okay. And now that I'm here, it's something that I still work on. I still look for topics. I still look for guests that I feel will touch the viewers and give you guys resources. So if card number 3, activation, was in your stack for the day, reevaluate what you're doing to support what you're trying to manifest and to support that end goal within your life journey. Card number 4 is flexibility. Okay. So we need to be flexible, people. And I'm not talking like gymnast flexible, right? I'm talking about giving ourselves grace, being flexible with ourselves, giving scenarios of flexibility. So many times our human selves ruin events, ruin what should be great, happy times or moments because we are inflexible with our expectations. It's okay to be flexible with your expectations. It's okay to give yourself grace if maybe, you know, like myself, looking at my journey to here, looking back and giving myself grace for where I feel like, man, I really held myself back. I could have been here a long time ago. You have to be flexible. There's so many things. Think about all the things that have to come together in our lives as we advance. So be flexible. and be graceful with yourself and with others. And last is knowledge. And when I picked up this card, I didn't see knowledge in getting information. I was seeing misuse of knowledge. And when, misuse of knowledge to me, as I try to feel into that, because it's the first time I've had that card come up that way, is manipulation of knowledge. So somebody, if you had this card number 5 in here, and you're like, I need guidance, I would look within your circle. I would look within the people that you trust and that you deal with, and who is manipulating knowledge to either put themselves in a better light, to hide something, because I feel like this is a manipulation of knowledge and what you're being given. So just be aware of that some reevaluating may need to happen. And our clarification card. And I feel, so when I see this card, I see this card with all the other cards around it. So to me, wherever you picked, this card is tied to all of them. It's not just a follow-up for 5. It is tied to all of them. And this is transformation, okay? It is taking what you're learning. It is taking your guidance, your observations, your relationship with spirit. It is all leading to a transformation. I know it doesn't feel like it. I know so many of us are dealing with chaos in our lives, and we look at it and say, how is this supposed to bring any kind of positive transformation? And it is beyond our understanding so many times. But I want you to know right now, if you're listening, even if you didn't pick a card and you think I'm full of bullshit, transformation is coming, and it's coming for all of us. We are getting closer. I love that, Maria. I keep getting the transformation card, is what she says. Transformation is here. It's a period that individually we are all moving into right now. And again, the word grace keeps coming up. Transformation is not easy. Transformation is not always fun, right? Leveling up sucks. Like, it is not like Mario Brothers. There is nobody in the castle going do, 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 and dancing around for us sometimes. Sometimes the transformation comes from the grittiest, nastiest work and the dirtiest places. But it is there, and it is full of hope. And I want you all to know that. On that note, I just want to thank all of you for tuning in every week. I truly appreciate you. I appreciate being a platform for you. I do hope that if you've missed any episodes, you'll hop on Podbean, check out some of the episodes you might have missed, download them. Check out my Swiss Used. If you are into herbal remedies, if you're into holistics, it's on Facebook, Swiss Used Live Healthy. Lots of great deals going on right now. So I do got to give a plug, because I think this is going to be the last month I'm selling it. So I want you guys to get some deals now. Before I end, I do know that a lot of you are aware, so many of us are struggling, right? We're struggling mentally. We're struggling with loss. And at the station at WLTK-DB, we're no different. We're dealing with our own losses, with our own difficulties this week, and keeping fellow members in our hearts and our prayers. And in tribute to that situation, I just want to reach out to you guys. I just want to say, be the kindness, right? Pass it on. And just, we have this opportunity. We don't know how long our opportunity here will be, but every day we should be using this to be an inspiration in some way, big, minuscule, because I can tell you, to somebody else, what you think is minuscule is huge. It could be life-saving. It could be monumental. It could be the pivotal moment that gets them to their hope. And so I just ask my viewers to find a way to pass on that kindness and that love to somebody else in your life, and give them the grace that we really don't even give ourselves. I love you all. I will see you next week with our guest, Brandon Wainwright.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTK-DB.com. Bye.